listening to Driving Law, a podcast by Kyla Lee about all things related to the rules of the road.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Driving Law. I am Kyla Lee at Acumen Law, and with me, my co-host, Paul Doroshenko.
And here we are in the office with using the computer the first time, sort of set up the way that we probably should be doing it.
I think it's been like 2 weeks since we've been on video for our podcast.
Yes. Video's the thing. We feel obliged to do it.
But it's not always possible because sometimes we're squeezing it in between court appearances and hearings and, we're in the car or...
We did one in the car.
We did.
We should do another one, bring the Buick in, and
We've
do
done
another one in the car.
We've done ones also, like actually recorded one in the early days when we were actually driving.
Yes, and that was awful. The sound was terrible.
But we
And I was driving, and so I wasn't really engaged in the discussion.
But we have little mics now.
That's true. We could try and do one driving. Anyway, we also don't have to do one driving, but it is a driving law podcast.
That's the thing. So getting to the driving law, so much happening right now. I thought the first thing we would dive into is a bylaw change in Vancouver.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So the city of Vancouver has changed the drinking hours and extended them to a remarkable 4 a.m.
4 a.m. Transit doesn't run at that time.
Yes, and I would imagine many Uber drivers who make the decision to have their shift, at times that are convenient for them, will decide that they don't want to be working at 4 a.m. Although I would imagine there'll be some who are.
Yeah.
People have to get home if they're going to keep drinking till 4 a.m. And so my first thought was, oh my gosh, this is going to be, people driving after drinking at 5 a.m. or what have you at 4:30, and the police are not going to have the resources at that time to be able to police it. I wondered about that, but then I started thinking, how many people are actually going to be there until that time?
Oh, I think a lot. I think about my younger days when I would go out to the club, if you can believe it. And
I did for years. I did it myself. Dancing on the speaker.
Yeah, I'd go out to the club and I'd be, drinking until the club closed. I'd go early too so that I could get in before they charged cover. And then I'd drink until the club closed. And then I'd go to somebody's house and keep drinking, often to 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yes, I did this too as a late teen. So I suppose there will be some.
Late teen, I was talking in law school.
I'm wondering, yeah, I know. I wasn't doing that in law school. I had to actually do the work. And I know you just had the brain that could pick it up easily. I had to study. I resent it. The comparison, as you may be able to tell. I really am at a bit of a loss of why they did this.
There didn't really seem to be like a hue and cry for it.
Yes, and I'm just wondering if they thought, World Cup action happening in Vancouver.
That was part of it.
People who travel here and are here on vacation and want to drink later. I mean, that's sort of the justification that's provided.
I think the big thing was World Cup because the games take place at such weird hours. They wanted people to be able to go to the bar who were here to watch games here, but also see the games they wanted to see and get drunk.
So, okay, you think that's the reason for it?
That's what they discussed.
I didn't see a reason that was provided.
That was discussed
That was my assumption.
in some of the meetings.
Yeah. So, but it won't just be for then. It'll be all the time. And I suppose, to some extent, you own a piece of property or you lease a restaurant or bar or whatever, you want to try and squeeze as much money out of that property as possible. The rents are ridiculous. The overhead is shocking. And so you're looking at another shift.
Yeah.
I just think of those poor people who are working till 6 a.m, serving drinks until 4 and then they're to clean up and then you have to go home. Like this doesn't seem very pleasant to me. But
if last call's at 4, you can probably stay at your table finishing your drink to 4:35, and then you've got another hour of cleanup in the place at least.
Yeah. No thanks.
Basically working in a graveyard.
So, I mean, you could historically predict the times to set up roadblocks to get the people who were leaving the clubs and bars who were forced out at last call. Those are the people who have been drinking a lot. Now, I guess we'll have to see roadblocks at 5 in the morning, rather than those, random rare ones that they do to catch those people who are still impaired from the night before,
Except
who
for the
slept for
fact,
6 hours and are still drunk.
Paul, that this is only in Vancouver, and how many roadblocks do we ever see anyway in Vancouver?
Yeah, it's almost never.
And this
Almost never.
is where I think this really gets into the driving law. Like, you can't, as a city, ever since they've made this announcement, people have been saying, well, what about transit? Are you going to extend transit hours? And Translink is saying we need to extend the hours to deal with this because there's going to be demand. Nobody thought about that. Nobody thought about the additional cost to the taxpayer subsidizing TransLink and the additional, money TransLink's going to turn around and say, we're already broke. Give us more money for this.
And as you and I know, pretty much the entire impaired driving team from Vancouver, the traffic team, was recruited by the Surrey Police.
Yep.
And so right now we have a huge hole in our traffic enforcement in Vancouver.
Every IRP I've received from a Vancouver police officer in like the last 3 weeks has been just a general duty patrol member.
Yes.
No specialized traffic people.
Yes. And I mean, nobody's abiding by the law with respect to cell phones in Vancouver right now. It's just it's a complete show.
Yes. Yesterday I was stopped at a red light and I looked to my side, and I took pictures of this for you because I knew you love to collect them. The person to my side was phone up like this, texting like this, blatantly, right at a red light on Main Street. And then I looked in my rearview mirror, and there was a guy who had his phone mounted on the top of his steering wheel, and he was leaning back, watching the screen of his phone on his steering wheel, waiting for the light to change.
Yeah, I was driving, we have a distillery van now, and I was driving the van, and I looked down, and there was a woman in her probably late 60s who had a doily-covered phone on her lap. She'd flip up her phone every once in a while, nice Lexus on Broadway. It seems to go across ages. I've seen lots of people holding their phone talking lately, and holding their phone like this. And then I saw a new driver yesterday who was just texting and moving with their knee ahead, texting. You, of course, took the photo with your high-tech glasses, which are worn, so it's not violating any law. But well, I mean, it's not violating any law, but maybe it is something that should be addressed in the future. I don't know the extent to which you can use your warm electronics.
Oh, it's definitely time for wearable technology to be addressed in the act. Like, when I wear those, I have the Meta View glasses for our listeners. When I wear those and I can play music through them, through the speakers on the glasses, it's not wearing an earbud or an earpiece or a headphone, so I'm not violating the law of having only one ear. But I had it in playing music the other day, and the music was so loud I didn't hear the sirens on an ambulance that was coming the opposite direction in the intersection where I was.
That can just happen in your vehicle if you've got your music up.
Yeah.
And it can just happen in your vehicle with new vehicles that are so well sound insulated. When I drive your car, I don't hear those things when the windows are up. It's very quiet in your car. When I'm driving my 71 Chevy, it doesn't matter if the windows are up. I can hear everything.
I thought you could only hear.
Well, there's that. I do hear that. That was a good impression.
Anyway, I think the city's really going to have to put money into enforcement and police.
They haven't thought about that. They haven't thought about
Nope.
that. Since Ken Sim got in, we've just seen the decline of traffic enforcement in Vancouver.
Well, I mean, it's far more important to the public safety to police the downtown east side. That's what's responsible for so much carnage. I was being sarcastic.
I know you were, and I think it's important to police the downtown east side as well.
You and I,
For the benefit of the people who live down there.
You and I have different views on the role of the police in the downtown east side.
Well, I mean, I would like to see more social services on the downtown east side.
Speaking of police, Paul.
We're always speaking of police. This is the driving law podcast. It's all police.
Some police officers work really hard to get a good reputation with the community. They understand that if they're doing a lot of traffic enforcement, they should try and be polite, nice, control their tempers, follow the rules closely, and treat people fairly.
Absolutely. Yes, many do.
And some police officers get bad reputations in the community pretty quickly and pretty extensively.
Yeah.
And
and sometimes it's deserved, and other times it's completely not. I mean,
I don't want to say whether this one is deserved, but I want to talk about Constable Keith McCready from the Prince George RCMP.
Yeah, I mean, I've had clients complain to me about the way it went down when they were issued their traffic ticket or IRP. Fairly consistent sort of description of their interaction with him and finding it very unpleasant.
Yes.
Some people are grouchier than others.
My concern is with respect to, number one, his decision making on files that I've read. For example, I had a case where he was patrolling the parking lot of a pub. My client pulled out of the pub. He said, "When did you have your last drink?" My client said 5 minutes ago. And so what did Constable McCready do? An immediate ASD test. Like clearly improper procedure.
Yes, I do remember that. Why bother asking the time of the last drink if you're just going to proceed in any event?
And the other one I had was an L driver with his grandfather in the passenger
Is
seat.
that the same one that I was involved in many years ago, or did you have one since?
This was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So different one
Yeah.
than one I did.
And he issued the prohibition, the IRP, to the grandfather in the passenger seat because he said he was supervising and at any point he could grab the wheel and take over.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Like any passenger.
all we had to do was Google because my file was all over the news from years and years ago.
There's nothing in the act,
listed.
but you have to be sober as a supervisor.
In fact, you can use your L driver child to get you home.
Yep.
And you could be passed out drunk.
Anyway, it's not just.
I prefer you weren't. You should be supervising.
It's not just in our files that he's maybe generated a little bit of controversy, we should say.
It seems some people in Prince George
really
want it known that they don't like him because.
So there was an arson at a weigh scale for like commercial vehicles on the highway, and after the arson, one of the shipping containers that was nearby the weigh scale, just on the side of the road for some reason, had a big spray painted message, "Good job, McCready," on it.
Obviously, intended to get out there.
Yeah.
So your Weird and Wacky Wednesdays article this week mentioned this and some other things that we find out. And often we find out all sorts of things that we don't tell you about, which really had me thinking as I was reading that your article. We find out things that we don't publicize. We don't tell anybody about. Police officers share information with us. We hold it in our lawyer, locked away in our lawyer brains along with all sorts of other secrets, and sometimes it's almost never shared in a circumstance where there's solicitor-client privilege or something like that, but we still maintain those secrets because there's not necessarily any value in sharing it with anybody. It may not be healthy to maintain those good open relationships that we have with the police to be sharing those things, but these things happen all the time. Like police detachments are no different than any other organization where there's people working, and you've got all sorts of personalities, and you will have some people who are great to work with and wonderful, and some people who are great to work with and wonderful and horrible sometimes, and you'll have people who run into all sorts of different conflicts, but rare does it come out spray painted on the side of a shipping container.
Yeah.
So you're kind of wondering, like,
why?
What
did he do?
And is it a popular opinion among the people in Prince George? Is this getting the reception of let's call out this officer?
Is it a call out, right? He's been the top cop for Alexa a couple times, the Alexis Awards, which we've talked about before. He's been on Alexa's team every year. Maybe people just really love that he's removing so many impaired drivers from the road, including the ones that are in the passenger seat.
So a call out, great job. So not ironic, not cynical, not
I mean, the Prince George RCMP is treating it as targeted at him, and they're trying to figure out how he would be related to the arson at the weigh scale. Although I don't think the spray-painted graffiti nearby an arson is enough to say that they're related.
No, but the automatic thought of the police would be that
Yeah.
they are related.
Yeah, you have a traffic officer, you have a weigh scale, you have an arson, but the weigh scale's run by CBSE.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
So, but anyway, whatever. They're investigating. Maybe more will come out. Very interesting. I'm I'm interested to see where this goes.
I did a little search for information on Reddit because there was another officer in Prince George who was um, widely disliked in the community by some people. I mean, maybe many people love that officer. I don't know, but there was lots of complaints on Reddit. And I had a client who complained to me about the officer, and I did a little bit of research digging. And you know, this does happen. As a police officer, I think it's important to keep in mind that you are a civilian. You are there to record and stop crimes and collect evidence and offenses.
Mm-hmm.
And to remember that you are not part of a paramilitary organization. You are a civilian in a specific role,
Public
a public servant for a period of time. And your period of time is governed by those Pelian principles that are always worth reading every once in a while to remind yourself of your connection to the community.
There are some officers, I want to touch on this, and it's not a pleasant topic, who definitely don't understand their connection to the community out of Florida right now. And I want to encourage, even though it is unpleasant, all of our viewers and listeners to watch the video of the traffic stop that happened recently in Florida. The person who was stopped is now represented by the famous lawyer Ben Crump in the United States. He was stopped for not having his headlights on in the rain, even though it wasn't raining.
Well, that seemed to be manufactured halfway through the stop.
Yes, and he was asked to unroll his window, and he told the officer, "It doesn't work, I can't unroll it." Another officer goes to the passenger window, and there's some back and forth between them about unrolling the window and exiting the vehicle, and he's trying to say, "I don't understand why I'm stopped. Please explain, like you're not really giving the information that makes any sense." And while he's going back and forth with the officer at the passenger window, the officer at his driver's window, without any warning, smashes the driver's window, punches the guy in the side of the face. He's been totally compliant. Tells him to put up his hands. He puts up his hands. He's like, why are you doing this? He's asked to step out of the vehicle. And he quite rightly is suspicious of that request and says, well, why? Why do I need to step out of the vehicle? And they open the door, pull him forcefully out of the vehicle, and punch him repeatedly, including right in the throat.
Yes. And I think it's important to note that he's not a white guy, the driver.
He's black and the officers are white.
And I watch all of these videos of police officers in the States pulling over people who are sovereign citizen types, and they're usually white. And I'm often thinking, taser them, as I'm watching this video. And yet they're treated so gently. And this fellow did nothing wrong, as far as I could see, and was violently yanked from his vehicle and beaten. And he was polite. He was asking him questions, but he was polite, and his questions were reasonable. And there was absolutely no justification for it. And again, every police officer is different, and it bothers me when I hear the generalizations that you get from police that we never do this, nobody ever does this type denial. But I think of that police officer who punched somebody in the head over on Beatty Street. You remember that? A cyclist?
Yes. Back when
and I think of the Abbotsford police officer who was caught on video walking across people who were handcuffed in a backyard, walking on their backs.
Hear about that?
That was maybe before your time. But I mean, there's been lots of instances. There was those police officers, Vancouver police officers, who used to take people from the downtown east side to Stanley Park and beat the hell out of them until one police officer, Vancouver police officer, reported it. And he had been taken as part of the initiation for this. This has gone on for probably years. And he faced all sorts of repercussions for outing the other officers. I mean, the fact of the matter is these things do happen, and you have to approach it Well, it's upsetting to see it, first of all.
Yeah.
And when these allegations come out, but for video, often they would just completely get away with it. And you have to think that, when you talk about systemic discrimination, when you can see it with some regularity happening here, 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 and here, um, the denial of it being systemic that the police often make. We don't teach it. Well, you may not teach it, but unfortunately, this is often the practice. The denial of systemic discrimination sure falls flat.
Yeah. I don't know how we transition from that into our ridiculous driver of the week, but
Do you not want to talk about the
well, I guess
Florida driver who was
speaking of Florida,
yeah, so this was Clearwater, Florida, and this driver was in a collision with a motorcycle, and
motorcyclist died.
Motorcyclist died, and she was held in jail. You're staying in jail because somebody died, and alleged to be driving impaired. She admitted to a glass of wine many hours earlier. The police conducted standardized field sobriety tests, claimed that she failed all sorts of things, but on the video, she did just fine.
I just want to say about that video, and you can find this online, about the video. She's wearing a mini skirt, and they are shooting it from a downward angle pointing up, and I think that that's
It's like
reprehensible.
an upskirt video.
Yeah, it's an upskirt.
And so it was all over the news that this woman had been charged with impaired driving in this death. The dozens and dozens of articles, and it will never be scrubbed from the internet. And it turns out there was blood taken. There was no alcohol in her body. There was no drugs in her body. She had been truthful all along. This was police again with those drunk driving goggles on. The drunk driving goggles are that they see everybody who's they pull over and deal with as a drunk driver. And she's suing, and good for her. But we face this allegation all the time, especially you on social media, about defending drunk drivers.
If
And
you don't want a DUI, don't drink and drive.
yeah, exactly. And that poor woman, and we've had lots of innocent clients over the years, many of them. That poor woman, widely publicized. And again, there should be some remedy for her.
They said that she had bloodshot, watery eyes, and like her arrest photo, the whites of her eyes are as white as could be.
They're whiter than mine are right
But
now.
also, like, if I accidentally killed a motorcyclist, I for sure would have bloodshot, watery eyes because I'd be crying.
Yeah, she said when they told her that the motorcyclist died, she said, "This is my worst nightmare." Well, yeah, but they just interpreted it as, "This is my worst nightmare because I'm drunk."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes people are drunk and it's their worst nightmare. Usually, actually, they're not that rational to explain it in that manner.
Yeah.
That she was. Anyway, the important thing here is that there are innocent people who end up charged with these things, and the protection of the law is very weak when it comes to impaired driving allegations, particularly in Canada, because the presumption is everybody's guilty, despite the presumption of innocence when you go to court, outside of court.
Although, our ridiculous driver of the week might have a difficult time maintaining his innocence, considering his unlawful act is clearly caught on camera.
Did you watch the whole video?
I did not, no.
No, I watched the video. I saw it on TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a man in Brampton, Ontario. We're back to our Canadian ridiculous drivers.
Trying to stick with Canadian ridiculous drivers.
He was behind the wheel of a Lexus, speeding on Brampton Sidewalk because traffic was backed up, and who waits in traffic when there's a perfectly good sidewalk to drive on?
So imagine this: you've got 2 lanes of traffic backed up. You've got a fog line, and there's a little bit of a shoulder there, and then you've got some nice grass, and then you've got the light standards, and then you've got the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And this person just pulled through the little grass onto the sidewalk, one wheel on the sidewalk, just driving along like maybe 30-40 kilometers an hour on the sidewalk, just tooling along in their Lexus. I guess they were too important to wait for in traffic like everybody else.
So this person ends up charged with dangerous driving and stunt driving. And you know what? I have dealt with a dangerous driving case where my client was alleged to have driven on the sidewalk.
Well, there's nobody on the sidewalk that you could see at the time, so there might be a little bit of an issue there.
There's actually case law on it, extensive case law out of Ontario. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's generally speaking, it's dangerous driving per se.
Well, it's some of the stupidest driving I've seen. It's certainly ridiculous driving. And you're thinking to yourself, like, there's people who are like, a pedestrian recorded the video.
Yeah.
But all of those people in the cars, so there was at least one pedestrian, all of those people in the cars would have seen it and thought, what the fuck is going on? This person is driving by me on the sidewalk. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
And I better get their license plate number.
I've definitely been in like backed up traffic where people are passing me, taking like the shoulder or just outside the fog line, like where you're clearly not supposed to drive to get way ahead. And it makes me so mad.
So there's another ridiculous driver who we have to mention. We'll see what happens with this one. There's a video on TikTok going around of a fellow in a pickup truck with a handicap decal. Certainly doesn't look handicapped. And he is parked somewhere in Vancouver, and he could be all sorts of different handicaps, but his main handicap seems to be any sort of moral connection to the community, because he appears to be dumping a mattress in a park out of the back of his truck. So we'll see what happens with that one this week, because he's caught on video. The license plate is very clear. Everyone commenting on it was like, okay, TikTok, do your thing and identify this guy. Certainly, all of the evidence will be there to be able to connect him to, because you could see him and you could see the license plate and his truck backed up with a handicap placard hanging in it. And here he is dragging a mattress out behind another vehicle and stuffing it into a bush.
Perfect.
So there's our homegrown Vancouver ridiculous driver of the week.
Well, that's our podcast.
Yeah.
And if you are driving on a sidewalk and need some legal representation, or you need a lawyer for any other type of driving related issue.
I know you're about to start talking about something else, but yes.
If somebody spray painted your name
on the side of a bin.
Yeah. No. You can give us a call.
You've dealt with a constable who has been you found difficult.
You could
and you have a ticket or an IRP.
Definitely give us a call at 604-685-8889, or find us online at vancouvercriminallaw.com, and tune in next week for another exciting episode of Driving Law.